let's look a little bit on how to do ascending runs using tapping only, because this is of course a different discipline than using your pick to start every string off. When you do a legato technique, then when you go from string to string, you just pick that string the first time, and then you let your left hand fingers do the rest. But in this case, we're using the first hand or the first finger to go from string to string. And it's not used to that because it's just used to fretting notes and not hammering them on. And this seems unbelievably awkward in the beginning to hammer on notes with the first finger. But once you get a hang of it, and I'm talking just a couple of hours with just a simple exercise like I'm going to show you in a second, then suddenly if you focus on that first finger tap, you really get there very fast. And in a couple of days, a week of practicing it over and over again, and it starts actually, it feels like it's natural at some point, like you've been doing it forever, because your other fingers have been doing this. It's very likely that they have anyway. So what you do is you simply learn to tap, or you just do it. You just tap with your first finger, tap with the tip here, and not this part. You don't want to tap with this flat part of the finger. You want to tap with this because this is hard and much easier to control. But it demands of you more precision. So you have to be really accurate when you hit the string to get it just right behind the fret and then with the tip of your finger. So that's what, and then of course when you tap the note, you have to move your finger away from the fretboard. When you're just fretting it, it doesn't matter how far you move it. But when you're tapping it in the beginning, it's a really good idea to exaggerate that movement there. What we're going to do is to focus on the A blues scale, but we're going to play it as a 3-note per string blues scale. So we have, instead of having 2 notes and then 3 notes, then 2, then 3, we're just going to lay it out 3 notes per string, and you can do that with almost any scale. 3 notes right there. So you have the A, you have the C in the 8th fret, and the D in the 10th fret. So that's the first shape you have, and now you might say, oh, that's stretching, but it's really not that hard. And if this is too much stretching for you, you can just, play the same lick in a minor scale where you have 3-note per strings. So you might go for a normal minor or diatonic, whatever you want to call that scale, but and then just learn to play the scale by tapping instead of using this blues scale here. But the cool thing about this is that we're actually not stretching, because we drop that. What we do here is we just imagine that we have 6 fingers on our hand. That's really the whole foundation, the whole basis of what we're doing here. We just go back and say, okay, what if we had 6 fingers and we could just stretch this finger away from the other? That's the fact. That's what we can do here, and that gives us a ton of options that we can utilize. So I place my first finger in the 1st fret. We're just going to play the blues scale up the fretboard here. Then I have my 4th finger in the 8th fret, and then I'm tapping in the 10th on the low E string. So the first thing is, of course, to tap that note with your first finger. And I should say that muting is a thing and a skill in and of itself. So in the beginning, it's a good idea to just take a sock or a stocking, just tie it around your neck, so you can get some peace to practice this. And it's a really good idea to do it. You don't have to use it forever, but in the beginning when you're doing this, it's good to have that challenge. Just remove that challenge of the strings going like that. Also a very good idea to practice this without distortion, because Stanley Jordan style. So you really have to, focus on getting the notes right. But so 5th, 8th, and 10th on the low E string. Then we go to the A string. We have the 6th, the 7th, and the 10th on that A string. So these are the frets right there. And that is our 3-note per string. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 shape on 2 strings. And then I'm just repeating that pattern up the fretboard. I'm just starting one octave higher. So we had the A there. We also have an A there, 2 frets up, 2 strings down. So in the 7th fret, I can do the same thing. I can do 7, 10, and 12. And then I have that structure, the exact same structure I had on the low E string. I'm playing the same thing now. The same combination of notes just on the 2 middle strings starting from the 7th fret. So that would be 7, 10, and 12 on the D string. And then on the G string it would be 8, 9, and 12. So you have the same shape, but just on the 2 middle strings and 2 frets higher. Then we go 3 frets higher up to the B string, and we have the same combination of notes here. Do the same thing. So it's 10, 13, and 15th fret, and on a B string, right? And on the high E string you have the 11th, the 12th, and the 15th. And the exercise in the beginning is just to play this scale up and down. What you can do is you can start with just going back and forth on the 2 lower strings. So you simply just go 6 notes up and then 6 notes down. Hammer on the 1st, 4th finger, 1st finger. And then you go to hammer on in the 6th fret, 7th, tap in the 10th, then pull off, and pull off, and then tap down here. Next note, right, on the low E string in the 10th, then pull that off, down to that one, and then pull off, down to the 1st. Now, these little pull-offs, tapping, pull off to this, pull off to that, are very important. That's the whole point of this, because what often happens is people, or myself included, they go, oh my God, that was almost like, you know, the fastest. It almost sounded right. And because it's relatively easy to get a result that sounds something like what you want, we mistake it for being easy, which is not. But it's the last, 2 centimeters up to the result from, the first thing is relatively easy to learn, but it's the 2 millimeters that or centimeters that really make the whole difference. And those, that last little level lies in whether or not you're actually pulling off when you're supposed to pull off, or whether you're actually tapping when you're supposed to tap. And you don't want your brain to go over, as I said, or as I talked about, into this mode where you are just fretting the notes instead of tapping or pulling off. So you really, in the beginning, have to just study every single thing you do. Tap, tap, effectively, move your fingers out here, tap it, tap, tap, or hammer on, and then there, and then pull off, tap, pull off, and pull off. Also, some people say, oh, you can just tap the whole thing. You can just, like, whatever. I don't know who's the, but that's actually quite a bit harder to just, and it doesn't sound as fluent and as great as the other. In my perspective, from my perspective, you might find the technique. I can't remember who used that very much right now. But anyway, just remember the details. And then what you do, once you're done or tired of playing back and forth down here on the 2 lower strings, you go to the middle strings. Just play back and forth. And then once you are tired of playing on the 2 middle strings, you just do the same thing. Steady does it, as we say in Britain. I heard that in the Postman Pat show. but that's really wise words here. Steady does it. So you just go with rhythm, the exact same amount of time in between each note. Because when you're using this kind of technique, there will be stuff that is much easier than the other stuff. For instance, changing strings. And if you're practicing very ineffectively, you are changing the pace of what you do. So you play the easier parts faster, you play the harder parts slower. So you go, and you don't want to do this. This is absolutely forbidden. So keep a steady tempo. And then once you are bored of go back and forth like that in these 6-note shape, you can begin to cross over and go from more rapidly from one to the other, and then practice the shifts here. And from one 6-note shape to another, we have 3 of the same shapes here. But what about in between? But in between the G string, from one shape to another, I have an interesting little shift there where I have to move my hand pretty much. And then look for the notes, because we have a very horizontal shape here. Look for where to put your finger when you shift from one string to another. For instance, here on the B string, I'm going all the way down to the 12th fret, and then I'm moving my 2 fingers down here. So I'm trying to lock in that image in my mind. So I really know the shift between this string and that string. So that's really how to practice it. What we're going to do now is to just add one little thing to this one, so we can do a sequence that sounds a little more impressive than. So we can add a little detail to that, because very often we don't need much. We just need one little variation to be able to create a lick that you can actually improvise with. You can go back and forth doing this variation when you feel like it. So let's just look at it. Let's do the middle 2 strings here. What you do is you just go up like you're used to. But once you get to that point, now I'm in the 7th, the 10th, and the 12th fret on the D string, and I'm in the 8th, the 9th, and the 12th fret on the G string. So I'm in that middle shape there. So I'm just tapping my way all the way, remembering this first finger tap. So I'm at the top now, so I go right back again as if I wanted to return to the first note again. So I go back on the G string. See if you can get that. But then I stop it. I don't go all the way down. I go. Then I tap, I introduce a new note in the scale. I tap the 14th fret, just the whole tone over the highest note in our little 6-note shape here. I tap that. And then I go down to this again, so I go. Let me play that slowly over and over again. And over again. So on that G string it says. That's the first thing you do when you get to the G string. Then you go tap that note in the 14th fret and then do the same thing again. Just up and down 3 notes from that note in the 8th fret. So, and you can actually circle this little lick on that, and you might find this very, very familiar. You just stay on that string and then go down once in a while. So you have a little cool lick there, and you can of course do it up here as well. So that's about it. Did I play that slowly enough for you? Let me just play that one more time very slowly. It's actually quite hard playing it that slow. But I hope to get the drift here, or otherwise you can look in the PDF. But that's about it. So now you have a way of getting from a lower note to a higher note, and then you can combine it with your this other. In the beginning there, I think that all I really did was to just come up from. I think that was the trick, really. I just played the whole scale. And then that other sequence down. But now you can improvise on your way up. You can go. So I'm going to tab this out for you, so you'll have one with just, going down and then up using the other sequence, and then where you take a stop and then improvise just a little bit. So. Something close to that anyway. So now this is the end of this video. Have fun with it, and remember to practice slowly in the beginning, getting everything right. No pushing and straining, just, get it right the first time. Use a metronome to get it in time. Sit down in front of the TV and then do, 3 hours of just simple practicing. Get the basics in place so it becomes super easy to go. And hitting all the notes right, hearing all the notes in that lick, and then just keep building on it. That was it for now. Thank you for watching.